Coming up next on the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast.
And a lot of those I am not able to share on this podcast, even though it's very uncensored. It's still, I can't say certain words or phrases, but we can share you.
From your first dollar to your first million, welcome to the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast, presented by ZenMaid. Join your host, Stephanie Pipkin, founder of Serene Clean, as she shares proven tips, tricks, and hard-earned lessons. Whether you're just starting out or ready to scale, get ready to discover how to build your own cleaning empire. Let's roll up our sleeves and dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie from Serene Clean, and this lovely guest sitting next to me is my cleaning technician, Ashley V. She has worked for me for 4 years? 4 years now, and I am here up in Wisconsin visiting, and I thought I would take the opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with you with one of my very bestest cleaning techs and go through the history of her working here and just the evolution of the company from her perspective and her experience as a really, really excellent staff member. So Ashley, thank you for doing this, agreeing this. You know, I didn't hold you hostage or anything to say yes to this, but thank you for sitting with me.
You're welcome. How flattering. That's quite the introduction.
Yeah. You're just amazing, Ashley. So, Ashley, I would love for us to go back to the beginning and talk about even just applying to Serene Clean 4 years ago. What were you doing then? What attracted you to applying? And we'll go from there. So what were you doing prior to working for us?
Prior to Serene Clean, I worked in healthcare for 14 years, which is a very long time. COVID came around and the world kind of went crazy. It was difficult times for everybody, not just in healthcare, but also everybody at home. And at the same time, my father was also going through his own cancer journey, and it was difficult to try work-life balance with COVID, healthcare, all the rules and the regulations, and then I couldn't visit my father at home because of having to social isolate from people. So I was looking for an alternative option, something I could do on the PM shift later at night while still being able to care for my dad at home.
Because were you working full-time for them?
Right.
Yeah. And so you had applied, actually, at that time, we had a QC position available. We had, attempted this years ago for our commercial accounts in the evenings in Black River Falls here. And that's what Ashley actually applied for. And we ended up hiring somebody else for that. And truly it was I was just talking to Crystal about this, my HR manager, and we remember saying to each other, why we weren't hiring Ashley or offering her a job. She's way too overqualified. She lives, half an hour, 40 minutes away. And we're why would she drive to Black River Falls for an hour of work? We were disqualifying her because we're no way is this going to be good enough for her? And you just kept pestering us.
I did. I was just telling Crystal that it took almost 2 months before I was very tenacious. Every Friday I would call and be like, hey, is there an opening? Are you guys hiring? Are you ready to bring me on? I'm ready to go anytime.
Yeah, and why? Why did you keep doing that? What attracted you that you would pursue us in that way? Because usually it's totally the other way around, right?
Right. So I can say when I walked in for the interview, it was a group interview.
Yeah.
Remember you were doing
I do, yeah.
And there was that sign that was
in our office. Yeah,
yes,
the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in acts of service, I believe, or in the service of others. That was the lettering in our old office. We really need to get that in this new office too. So that gave you a good impression.
It did. I was like, this is where I want to work. Look how flexible they are with their family. And somewhat, I don't remember if it was dogs or if dogs were there for sure.
Yeah.
Kids might have been there.
The kids running.
There's a kid there, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best work environment and I only stepped into there for less than an hour. I just could feel the ambience. It was awesome. It was I want to be a part of this. I want to experience this. And P.S. I really love to clean. So
the side effect. So really, I love that you bring that up of you could feel our culture from the moment you stepped into our environment. And obviously a lot of you guys listening, you don't have offices yet, but even when you do get, a small little shoebox or whatever it is you can afford in the beginning, do anything that you want to it that really showcases who you are as a company or what you want to embody, because obviously one of our core values is family first. And as Ashley can attest, we do embody that. We live that. And so literally the first instance that they walk in, we want them to feel Like, I mean, it's not like we even have to really try. It just is, right? There could be dogs, there's kids, stuff on the walls. It just is all showcasing who we are as a company. What did you think of the group interview? Because we didn't tell you.
No.
Well, we didn't tell you that it's a group interview. So what did you think of that?
That was quite interesting. First time ever. I've never had a group interview, so it was a new experience, and it was different, and you were really chop to the point, and this person asked this person this question, another question, and I was like, wow, wham, bam, boom, I'm done. Okay.
Efficient. Yeah. Really, for us, it's that filtration process of, and also to take you by surprise, because, one of your skills and the skills of all of our, staff that really excel is being able to adapt and roll with punches quickly. And because, as we know, things go crazy out there in the field. Like, things are never happening just perfectly as planned, and you need to be able to adjust very quickly, even when it comes to schedule changes and things like that. So if somebody really, really hates being, I wouldn't say bamboozled, but walking into an environment maybe that they didn't expect, and being able to hold it together, that is one of the things. But truly the group interview was just so we don't waste a bunch of time on people we don't want to talk to or that don't show up. So just, you showing up is half the battle. But yeah, so we hired for that QC position somebody who lived in Black River Falls, and then finally we're like, well, we're hiring for cleaning techs, but again, we were so skeptical of why would this professional person want to clean? Because at that point we were still very, very new. That was 4 years ago. We were only 2 years old at the time. So yeah, we had an office. We had kind of this flow going, but compared to now, it feels so infantile in a lot of ways. So, we offer you the job. Do you remember you started out at 20 hours a week, maybe?
I think so.
Yeah, something like that. Doing residential and commercial. You've always been a hybrid cleaner, right?
Correct.
And so do you recall what the training process was like? Because I certainly don't. It probably wasn't a process at all, truly. Do you remember what that was like?
Oh, yeah, I do. I remember showing up for cleans and being with, you didn't have Hannah as the main trainer, so we didn't have that back then.
You just went with a clean.
Whoever the cleaner was, so it was a different person every day. And gosh, I want to say I was in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I don't believe it was every day. Mm-hmm. Maybe 3 times a week. Yeah. Do cleans with somebody every day, and then after the end of the 2 weeks, I did Warren's place out by myself. Yeah, you guys tricked me because I had this clean. It's okay, I think I can figure out all these different people telling you how to do different things, and trying to figure out what is the best way and what is the end goal, even though their processes are a little bit different. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty good at
taking information in and disseminating what to take away from it.
Yeah, what the end goal is, not necessarily the process. I don't get quite too hung up on the process. But okay, so then when I got to Warren's at the end, I'm doing the cleaning, and then April showed up to do a quality check. Totally by surprise again. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, great, fantastic. I don't even know what I'm doing.
We just saw you've always been so open to feedback, and honestly, I don't even know if you've ever gotten a complaint. Have you?
Yeah, a couple.
Okay. Well, I don't recall them. They clearly weren't that bad.
Minor. Very minor.
Very minor. Yeah. So yeah, over the time, your hours and needs have shifted, I believe, a little bit. But it's always been around that. It's always been part-time. Right. Right. Yeah. So yeah, tell me, I guess, from starting out first couple of years, how has your life changed in that time personally? Because you have gone through a lot of life stuff, and I guess from an employer's perspective, what have we done for you in order to accommodate those things? Can we talk about that?
Sure. So coming from the professional workforce and being a professional person, then really I switched into the caregiver role, and I'm still in the caregiver role. It just happens to, as the baby boomers are aging, and us people that are in our middle of our life here in our 40s, 30s and 40s, we're becoming caretakers for our parents as well. And I also have young children in school, so this works fantastic for me to be able to pick my hours and work this more PM. You have different shifts available, and they're not 8 hours. I don't have to commit to an 8 hour, 11 p.m. to 8 a.m., 7 or, it's kind of nice that you have a little smaller shifts on the PM so I can work and then still do all my family things and days off. So during the day, I can run mom to doctor appointments or run kid to whatever appointments that he needs, or myself even.
Yeah, because you work, every weekend, or would you say pretty much every weekend, which is, by choice. Yes. That's what Ashley wants and what makes sense for her, family and caretaking responsibilities. But, when Ashley says, being able to work shorter shifts, that's kind of how we come at this. Is when we're interviewing people, we ask them, well, what works for them? Instead of saying, your schedule is going to be 8 to 4, it's like, well, what can you consistently work? And as long as it's, we can get an appointment in, a typical appointment, then that works for us. Or on the weekends, you may just have an Airbnb to go do,
right.
And then that's it, right? We just don't feel that, you're open to a certain amount and we can fill up to that amount, but we don't have to. And that's like for us as the company, it's really attractive to have people who are open to part-time. Like I've always been a fan of part-timers. And I think people think that makes you less serious about your job. Like, do you feel any less serious about that? I mean, we're less serious probably, but
No, it was actually very attractive coming from like the professional setting when they dictate your hours are 8 to 4:30. This is your expectations, and you're expected to be there 15 minutes before you punch in and 15 minutes after you punch in. And so then for even Serene Clean saying what hours can you work or what hours will work into your schedule,
it's totally opposite.
It was taken aback. I'm like, oh my God, talk about flexibility. And you live by that. It's not just a model that you say you're going to do it. They really do it. And in the 4 years I've been here, have never overextended the scheduling for me. Like if I say I'm going to be done at whatever, 7:30 at 8 o'clock at night, I don't want to, be home. I have a little bit of a drive too late. Yep. You've never overextended them and like, oh, someone called in and we're just going to shift, assign you an extra 2 hours, 8 to 10 p.m. Never.
Yeah. And you've always been like, you're very open to taking on things when you're able to, but it's always an ask and a request, but never like a, hey, you're going to get fired if you don't do this. Like, or like, you just need to suck it up and do it. Like, I just am so against that like philosophy of managing people, because if we're going to say we're flexible and then when the brass tacks of it all comes down and we're like, actually, screw your family and your life, we're your family. Or to your toxic family. So it's really just about like honoring, like, I'd rather have somebody consistently for 20 hours a week for years than burning them out. And truly looking at our team, almost all of them are parents and almost all of them need that flexibility. And if I can get them consistently, like it makes a lot of sense. And, speaking of the work, obviously you said you love to clean, but like, let's talk about some of the cleaning stories. I think that would be really fun. I'd love for you to share the pantalones one, the panties story, if you'd be willing to, because a couple of weeks ago in our Monday morning team meeting, we were sharing all of the like, what's the funniest thing that you found cleaning? And a lot of those I am not able to share on this podcast, even though it's very uncensored. It's still, I can't say certain words or phrases, but we can share yours. I think that's PG enough. So do tell about the vacation rental, Ashley.
Right. So cleaning the Airbnb vacation rental on a Sunday afternoon, and I don't get to see the people, but it's always kind of fun to see who the guests, you can kind of tell the personality of the guest by the items that they leave behind. And as a good cleaner, I always check underneath the beds, because that's a lesson you learn. You miss underneath the bed one time, or the next time, so okay, check underneath the beds. And in the master bedroom with the king bed, there's a pair of panties, women's panties that were like quite
large, red panties.
With a bottle of nail polish.
Yes, matching nail polish, very important in the seduction game.
Which is the funnest thing I ever found. I laughed hysterically.
Did you throw them away, or what did you do?
I believe so. I think I texted the hosts and they asked what to do with lost items, and I believe they said to toss them.
Can you imagine us mailing those? Right. That's a good one. It's always fun. And like, honestly, I think that those are like, sometimes it's a little like, awkward or whatever, but looking back, those are the funniest like stories to me, is like when things go wrong, things goes awry. And obviously I've shared a lot of those on the podcast of things going very, very off kilter. Do you have any like that really stand out as like heartwarming or touching to you? Because obviously you do residential and commercial, I mean, your commercial accounts love you. They'll buy you vacuums. They give you gas cards. Like, they love you.
Stocking hats, coffee cups, shirts. Shirts from their business logos as well. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite ones, of course, I really love my elderly people. So a couple of the elderly people that I Norm was one of them, and he would always leave me a note, and he would leave. When I would come to clean his house, he would leave, usually visit for a few minutes, and then he'd leave to go have lunch. And on my birthday, he left me a little card with an extra tip, and it was like, happy birthday, and I kept that. I was like, that is the cutest thing ever to be able, and when Jeannie was no longer able, she fell and wasn't able to stay in her home, and she went to the assisted living, and that the daughter sent a message to you, Serene Clean, to please let me know that she would love it if I would come and visit her at the assisted living facility. I know, right? I was like, oh, that's so cute. So that's very heartwarming to me. So yes, it's cleaning and it's providing a service, but it's also getting to know people and gaining their trust and loyalty. And so you're providing a variety of service in addition to cleaning.
Yeah, it is a very sensitive thing and a very a vulnerable thing to have some people in your house. And I think that one, you obviously have the heart and soul for it already. It just comes very naturally to you. And that's something that honestly would, we've had people come in as staff members and they don't have that heart. And I would say, a lot of times maybe they'd be more suited for commercial, because I think from a residential standpoint, you do have to care. It can't, I know, at the end of the day, it is just a job, but at the same time, if you're going to excel and really enjoy your work, to be able to take that meaning out of it. And honestly, I feel like that's something I really try to almost emphasize or agitate of. I feel like that's one of our core tenets is sharing feedback or talking about the meaning behind our work, that it's not just cleaning, and hopefully that comes off to you guys of we want to talk about we're changing people's lives, we're helping them. It is so much more than cleaning, because I know for me, if I'm having a shit-tastic day, but I know that my work is positively affecting people, that can really help. I mean, have you ever had any discouraging cleans where you're fuck this?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
We're such a positive Polly that I walk into any situation, there could be literally shit all over the place. And I'm all right, I'm going to make this place perfect.
Yes, I know. And you're definitely, but again, core value, quality for us is positive and grateful attitude. And so it's just you align so heavily, and then finally the integrity aspect of it. So I know I talk about core values so much, and so does every person in the cleaning industry, I feel or any company really, but that's because it's this is the embodiment of our core values here matching, and then that so successfully aligns for long-term success and really not having to correct or train. And obviously we have changed and evolved a lot as a company since you've been here, in pretty much every single area. I mean, did anything really stand out for you that you're oh shit, they're getting their shit together? Wow. over the years there, or where it's just did it ever come across to you that we were feeling chaotic, in the office?
No, you guys didn't really. I'm part-time as well, so I didn't come in during the day. I worked the PM shift, so when I did come in, everyone seemed, as Crystal was in the office in the beginning, in April, I think it was just the two of them when I started, and then as more office girls, I was a little confused myself as I don't know who to go to for what. In my mind, Crystal was pretty much my go-to, and then April was payroll, I think, in the beginning, right? So I'm I don't really do much with payroll, so I can see Crystal being overwhelmed, but then as other girls, I'm okay, now the division of labor has...
Yeah, honestly, but that's highlighting, we didn't necessarily have any type of structure of who does what, and that's something that I discussed with Crystal in her podcast recording, was a big kind of shift for us, was saying, okay, this is your job, and we don't touch each other's work, because it just kind of muddies the water. And obviously she's head of HR now, so for you guys, it is you naturally already kind of go towards her for anything, because it's that's what it needs. But if it's a schedule thing, you could go to any of the others, because so it just kind of highlighted that. What about I'm curious, one of the things that we've struggled with as managers is setting those boundaries, because we're so, I guess, accommodating. Especially in the past year, I feel we've really cracked down and kind of put a lot more out, and hey, I feel the expectations have really risen. Have you felt that at all?
the expectations was
for everything, for behavior, cleaning, like communication, like we've really, I feel like, kind of like cracked down on that. But you've already been like kind of perfect, so it probably doesn't feel like that to you. Like some of my other staff maybe have felt it more.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think coming from the professional, like it was so highly regulated, being in healthcare, the notifications. I do, like, if I'm going to message a manager on the weekend, I try to be respectful and do it like not at 8, 9, 10 p.m. at nighttime. Do it while I'm working in that afternoon, like 1 to 4 shift, close it, maybe 10 to 5 or so. So to try and be respectful, I have noticed you've been a little more strict on that. And also the, what's our Slack?
Slack, we use Slack now,
where you can time the messages.
Love it,
Yes, that has made such a huge amount, because I may be thinking of something at 10 o'clock at night, but I'm not going to. And so many times I would also open up my Facebook Messenger and I would start typing it at 10 o'clock, so it'd still be sitting there as a draft kind of. Yes, to remind myself in the morning. But now with the Slack feature, I guess that's really changed as well, just the way that we communicate. With the Slack having so many different options.
Features and stuff. It's been... We really like it.
It's very nice. And like even doing the Zoom meetings versus doing the Facebook FaceTime or whatever that was. So it's the evolution. Going back to your other questions about the holy shit, you guys got your stuff together. When we had that orientation, the big orientation, that everybody attended, that was my training. The training. That was my first, oh my God, this is an actual like all staff training. This is it. And the hierarchy, what we were talking about, the division of labor, like we had papers and it had the division of who's doing what in the branch and all of their contact numbers. I was like, wow, she's getting fancy. Truly. I mean, this is like, it's still, I mean, we're 6 years old now, but it's like coming from like nothing, you know what I mean? And luckily, like as we've added on like different office staff and even just you guys in general coming from a professional background, like that's a nice thing, because I just feel like it kind of elevates the whole company, because to act like a proper company, because there is certain things obviously that we want to completely be different than other types of workplaces. But at the end of the day, it is an organization that needs to behave in a professional manner. So that means a lot of like documentation and trainings and things like that. And so like you mentioned, the all staff training where we kind of, like really like set the bar, and some like just a lot of like confusion. And, as we've evolved, a lot of things have changed. So different people have gotten different training, different messaging, and wires crossed on things like that. So it's like, you were trained this way, you were trained this way. Like, we just need to like across the board say, this is how it needs to be. And that's obviously the beauty of the team meetings too, is like, we talk about different challenges that come up. And honestly, like for me, I think, especially obviously like me living remotely, and you, like, you're never in person for the team meetings. And like for you guys listening, this is why I'm such a fan of like consistent team meetings. And I just don't think once a month would cut it. Like especially like, we're going over complaints, we're going over positive feedback, we're going over reviews from last week, tips from last week, like just sharing a lot of metrics. I don't know, like obviously like I've really tried to change that over time and increase what we're sharing with you guys. Does that like, well, how does that feel to you? I mean, does it seem to like matter? Like, do you think to share those types of numbers? I do. I really enjoy the transparency for sure, because I've worked for other entities where it's really ambiguous. It's like, you don't know if your job is making a difference, and what I'm doing, how is that affecting the bottom line? Are we doing well? But so by you sharing this, and this is how much you guys have contributed to your retirement. That's super exciting. I do too. It's like exciting, and like, look how many tips we've earned. Oh my gosh, we're doing great. Rather than like not ever sharing that anybody's getting any tips. So it's like, it's the whole team is doing well. It's not just I'm doing well, but all my fellow employees are doing well, and I'm proud of their work as well. Not just my work, but I'm really happy for everyone.
Yeah, and because it is a really interesting industry when it comes to the fact that, like, at the end of the day, you guys are like, it reminds me, like, I ran cross country. It reminds me of cross country of like, we are individually running our race, but to win as a team, like, every single person matters, like, because it's a point system. And so I kind of see it that way of like, well, how many appointments did we have? How much tips? How many complaints? Okay, we're going on like 5 weeks of 0 complaints. When you're talking about like, dozens of people, that's like pretty freaking impressive that like every single day you guys are showing up and killing it. And so really just trying to highlight that. And then, when we do talk about complaints, like, I mean, like I said, you probably rarely have had them, but we just, anonymously say, this is the complaint that came in, and we just talk about how to hopefully prevent that in the future. Or if anybody has had a challenging situation, we kind of just like talk about it, you know? So yeah, I would say like very candid transparency is the goal. Sometimes I struggle with like not oversharing, like obviously of, you know, and even if we have like a difficult customer, well, I kind of see that as a positive, because if we have a situation that the office staff have had to deal with, I want to share that with you guys, because then, you know, it's not all like butterflies and roses for them.
Right.
Like they have to deal with a lot of bullshit too, just like you guys do. And, you know, obviously they all came from being cleaners first. Like, how does that make you feel? Has that ever been in your mind at all? Like, because that is important to me. Or do you think you would give a shit if they hadn't been cleaners? Like,
No, I do appreciate that very much so. Like last week when Crystal was working, she picked up a couple of night things, like quite a few. She was busting her hump all day in the office during the day, and then she's cleaning at nights. Like, props for her, and she's still a family, a professional woman as well. It's like, wow, I give her a lot of credit. I'm thankful that your leader is willing to get down in the ditches and get dirty with you. That is important to me.
Yeah. And again, like we're really touching on a lot of like cultural things, and I'm happy to like hear from your perspective that like you notice it, and it's not necessarily for it to be like obviously overtly recognized, but we're having a conversation right now about it, obviously. So that's why I'm highlighting it. It's like, tell us how good we are, actually. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? But you know, like all of these things are concerted efforts. Some of them just are byproducts, but it's like all of this is like when we're talking about a holistic like company culture, like these things are important. And so, you know, when I said coming back to the team meetings, it's like, yes, every single Monday morning, we've shifted all of the appointments so that it can accommodate as many team members as possible joining either in person or virtually, which most, you know, I would say half of us are joining virtually, obviously. I mean, Savannah and like you know, from your home, like, but just like having that touch point, because half the meeting isn't about work at all, right? It's just us like going around. We do a weekly question and talk about, you know, something we're excited or grateful for. And like, you know, you sharing like your son had prom this weekend, and like, you know, sharing his photos and things like that. And I just am such a fan of like getting to know each other. Like, I feel like we really know each other because of that. And it's not just like work, because like, yeah, you want to enjoy your coworkers.
It's your work family.
Yeah.
You guys really are my work family. So like you said, the cross country of being so independent. I kind of did feel like that when I first started maybe 4 years ago. I was on my own little private island.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's like, we don't have to worry about Ashley. Like, well, got it.
I hope I'm doing well here when I'm working this commercial called PM, because I no complaints.
There's no QC, there's nothing. Like, yeah, just like a no man's land of like, well, Ashley's good. And especially you were getting accounts like far out in Neilsville too. So we really didn't have the capacity to QC very much. So yeah, I was like, no news is good news.
That's exactly what I thought. No news is good news. And not being able to see other employees as well. I mean, you can see the office when I would come in and, you know, supplies and whatnot, but not having that camaraderie with the fellow employees, like the work family. Yep. Like what Matt just said about it was his birthday.
Yeah.
And so I went down to visit him and brought him chocolate chip cookies on his birthday, because I remember training him in about a year ago, and I have not seen him in such a long time. And I saw his birthday was coming up, so I messaged him and I was like, "Hey, birthday boy, I haven't seen you in a long time. What are the plans?" And he said he was going to be there. So
yeah, this lady, she literally cooked homemade chocolate chip cookies for a coworker and surprised him with them. Like, what the hell? Like, just amazing. And honestly, this is the craftiest person you'll ever met. She has custom made me a handmade apron, because she's a very skilled, I guess, seamstress. Yeah, that's how I would describe it. Like, if any of us ever need alterations, we just give them to Ashley. You have wood burned me a custom spoon with SpongeBob into it, because as we all know, I love SpongeBob. My whole staff knows that I do. So I get a lot of SpongeBob related gifts. So that like literally is in the back of all my videos. If you guys see that spoon in the background at my normal office, that's from Ashley. So yeah, it's very special to me. So you're very thoughtful, I would say. You're a very thoughtful person. Yeah, so it really has evolved, but I think we had a lot of like good basis, and it's just like getting a lot of great key players kind of early on. I mean, you've seen obviously a lot of turnover over the years. Like, I mean, has that ever made you feel any certain way? Like, or has it been like, that's just like, yeah, I'm curious what the perspective is on turnover from a coworker standpoint. Like,
it's fascinating. Like when I first started 4 years ago, it seemed like every week I felt like there was a new person, new face every week, and it was like, okay, I'm training in somebody, and then am I going to see them next week? Are they going to be hanging around? It's like I'm always friendly to everybody,
Yeah.
but it's like I don't want to get too invested.
I'm curious, like, did you like obviously like this is something that we've added that survey for trainers because we've gotten burned by people training and then never saying any, because you guys don't like to be snitches, right? And you feel like you're tattletaling, which is a great thing. Like you don't want to be like like going to the boss about everything. I get that, but something that we realized was that was happening so much, so that experiences that you may have been having that wasn't getting back to us, and then they were getting released to clean, and then we realized this person sucks, or wow, there was red flags, and we didn't see it because we weren't the ones training that, meaning the management team. And so now we have surveys after every single training day for both the trainee and the trainer, asking how it went and if there was anything. So looking back to when you did train, like what would you say, like now that with the hindsight of knowing that these people are no longer here, was there any red flags that you feel like, for you, what makes, like from your perspective, what makes a cleaner when you're training them? Like, is there anything that you're like, oh yeah, they're going to be good?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I could specifically think of a person I trained in, and I'm really big on the personality color. So you kind of got to gauge who you're working with to know how to communicate with them, to relay what's important and figure out what's important to them, and then try and figure out how to make what you think is important to them, if that makes sense. So there's a person I was asked him, I don't know what kind of personality are you? Do you like things organized? And the person, he said to me, I have all my spices alphabetized in my cabinet at home.
And you're like, this is a good one.
I was like, oh, he's going to be great.
That's a good question, actually. That's a really good question. We should ask that during interviews, I feel like. Like, tell me about your spice cabinet.
You had me beat. I don't even have mine organized alphabetically.
Yeah. Wow, that's good. Any red flags that you're like, this person is not going to work?
There was a couple ones when there was a couple gals that just had so much other things going on that they weren't quite picking up as well, and maybe missing some of I'm a very much a detail person. The corners have to be good. Don't leave sand in the corners. Don't leave cobwebs in the corners. So if they're missing some of that stuff initially, the first time, obviously, fine, okay, you're new. But like the third time,
where they're not retaining information or learning, that's really frustrating. And that's for me, like I hate training because I just hate repeating myself. So it's very like frustrating when somebody like, and to me, like just like you, like cleaning is like second nature. Like I don't need to be trained. You know what I mean? Like I just like, obviously nobody trained me. I figured it out. So so like, why can't you just know this? And so that's obviously a terrible mindset. That is not the mindset you want in a trainer, of like frustration over somebody not just like having all my knowledge into their brain of like how to clean. So obviously we've paired people with folks who we think are good teachers and who are patient and kind and all of the important things, and that don't get easily frustrated. And in the beginning, we were, well, really until Hannah had her position, we were assigning them to active clients' homes or appointments where it's like, you're expected to get the appointment done and train. And that's why, that's kind of chaotic, but it's all we could do at the time. And so that's one of the improvements that have been made, is like they're training in control homes. This is not a paying customer's house, it's the manager's homes, so that they can take the time without feeling that, franticness of I got to be on time. I've got appointments to get to today. And that's just really, really stressful. So, things have definitely evolved specifically in training. So what about quality control? Obviously that in the past year has like been ramped up, like insanely. So like you've probably gotten QC'd a dozen times probably in the past year. I mean, I don't know, just because of, yeah. So, I mean, what do you think of that? Like, how does that make you feel?
It's good. It keeps me on my. I keep on my toes pretty much, anyways. But when Hannah did point out maybe one thing at one of the places, I was like, oh, I never thought of that. So like, I started. I've been cleaning here for like years, 3 or 4 years. I was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, like back in the day, we were having you guys QC each other. Really, again, up until Hannah's position. So that's been only less than a year that she's the QCer now, but like you guys were QCing each other. Like you did QCs on other people, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, talk about that. Like, how did you feel doing that, providing feedback in general? Like, what do you think of that philosophy of having each other quality check.
I do. I still, like yesterday when Janine and I were at the library, we still did that. We split the library in half and we met in the middle. And then afterwards, I'm like, okay, we should quality check each other because it's just ingrained. Mm-hmm. I think that's still the way we're doing
it. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So at the end of the day, if you're on a team cleaning, you check each other's work. Like, it doesn't matter how long you've been here. That is philosophy because it's like fresh eyes, and we all can miss each other or miss something. And so, for us, one of our biggest red flags is if somebody can't take constructive criticism, and if they get really defensive about it. And obviously, if you feel that it's incorrect feedback, that's one thing. But it's if you just immediately argue, or some have just been don't put me on that account because they got a complaint, a legit complaint, and it's just that's not the right response. You don't get to say that well, just don't send me there anymore, because it's
we're all human. We make mistakes. We're not robots.
Yes.
We have families and we have other things. We lock our keys in our car on our way to work.
Perhaps even today, hypothetically, one could do that, right, Ashley?
I would think so, yeah.
In case you can't tell, that is what happened today. Like I said, a case of the Mondays today, to quote Office Space. Oh, geez. But we all make mistakes, and I think that just highlighting that we never try to really shame anybody. It's more so a problem solving of listen, this is the name of the game. And if you can't handle it, this is not going to be a good workspace for you. So, it's just been, ever evolving, and every single kind of section of the business has changed a lot since you've been here. And even just, me moving away, I talked about this with Crystal, what did you think of that? From an employee standpoint of was it what the fuck?
Kind of what happened to Stephanie? She's gone. You were so involved there every day when and then all of a sudden, boom, you're gone.
Yep.
Change is hard. Yes. I lost my Stephanie for a while. But now, since the virtual with the Zoom and we can see you, it's
it doesn't really feel any different.
I don't notice that you're not here.
Yeah, and honestly, I probably wouldn't even be working in the office anyway, because I'm the biggest distraction in the office, and nobody else gets any work done. So even if I lived here, I don't think I would work in here because I have so many meetings too and stuff. So just a lot of things have changed. And one thing I wanted to highlight, obviously, because our this is brought to us by ZenMaid. So from an employee perspective, we've had ZenMaid since day one in the business. What do you when we started training you and stuff, and just you getting used to ZenMaid? What was your perception of that from a cleaning standpoint, and making your job easier, making your day easier? What did you think about using that software?
Oh, I really like it. I think it was amazing. I really like that the addresses are in there, and you can tap the address and it brings up your Google Maps, because I'm a woman, and I can't find places very well sometimes. And so that is amazing. And I've really noticed the evolution of the notes.
Yes.
ZenMaid had in the beginning 4 years ago, I was
nothing.
I'm really not sure. We didn't have checklists.
We had checklists,
right? Yeah, but not nearly as
robust now.
Robust, yes, as they were now. So I'm okay, this is what in the ZenMaid, this is what it says to do. Again, no news is good news, so I did everything well.
Yeah.
But as the years have evolved, the checklists have evolved, and ZenMaid notes are very specific. Even today, it was so nice this morning. I'm okay, you only have to do the bathroom and the floors, other than walking into the place and being I have to clean this whole house in 2 hours. Are you kidding me? No, right there specific.
Yeah, so it's just nice to have exactly what you need to do when you need to do it, kind of thing. And obviously, I'm very proud of the SOS feature, because it was our stories that kind of helped inspire the need for that. Obviously, none of us have had to use it yet, but it is cool, just all of the evolutions and rapid changes and improvements. And there's going to be a lot more, even just stay tuned. Even they're going to be adding in the next hopefully couple of weeks the in your guys' appointment list views that you can see where you need to get keys from, instead of having to click into the appointments. It'll just be you need keys for these accounts, and that'll be really nice. So yes, a lot of our stories are inspiring change at ZenMaid, so it's going to make the software even better. But I was always curious to ask, from a cleaning tech perspective, what you thought of utilizing that, and if it made you feel we had our shit together more. Did it seem wow?
It did. It was, because your address was in there, where you need to go, the time is in there. I mean, it was pretty robust. I am a detailed person, so I really enjoy the evolution of the notes being more detailed now versus what they were
Yeah.
4 years ago.
Yeah, and that's just been like obviously informed just by mistakes and like oh crap moments of, well, the cleaner did like that was on us, and a lot of times it really is on us in the admin of like you guys in order to be successful in the field need the proper information, and that's why it's just like it's not so much as just having the address and the number of bedrooms and bathrooms. It's just like, well, what the heck, like how do I get in, how many pets, like is there any rooms to leave off, even like to the point of like does it have a finished basement, because we would miss basements sometimes or get through a whole house and then open a door and be like, oh no, there's a basement and it's finished and we're supposed to clean it. And so really we're like psychotic on our intake now of clients in order to like allow you guys to not be have the wool pulled over or feel like
not prepared.
That's
the worst feeling in the world when you show up and you're not prepared.
Yeah.
So I walk in and I usually still, like today was I haven't been to this lady. She's a very Serene Clean client. I'm part-time. I haven't seen all of our clients. So I just wanted to say, hello, I just want to verify that this is what I'm doing today. Yep. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And just in having that proper communication. So super important. And obviously like you're very professional and adaptable, so if we do throw you in, cause you've never, you haven't ever done any like hoarders or anything, have you? I don't think.
Yeah.
Have you?
Out on.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yes.
Yeah. How is that? So we don't typically do hoarder houses. So I'd love to talk about that. But because this was, I'm sure we like kind of just like gave you the rundown on the situation, and you just show up and like, what is the goal in that home? Because obviously we're not throwing anything away like that, right? Really?
No,
it's literally cleaning, but what's it like there?
Yes, that was a really. The hoarder, obviously, so many things.
Yes.
In my mind, the training, I'm like, the checklist and all of these things that I think should get done.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously you walk in and what's important to them is not important to you, and it's whatever is important to them in this situation. The sister was there and she was cleaning and she was like, oh, thank God, I just need someone to gather all of the dishes and wash dishes.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, perfect, okay. And then I got all that done and she's like, oh, you're done with all of the dishes? I was like, well, it has been 2 hours.
2 hours of dishes. Yeah.
2 hours of it. Then she's like, oh, if you could do the bathroom, just the toilet, just get to the toilet. And of course, I'm a promise low and deliver high kind of person.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'll see if I can get to the toilet. Got the toilet and the tub done and the floor. And I was like, yeah, I'm rocking this.
Yeah. And obviously, it's like, it's just a delicate situation because then we're dealing with, some like mental health issues, and honestly, that's a bit more extreme, but that is a very common occurrence, I would say, is we are dealing with the physical embodiment of mental health complications, whether that be depression, grief, overwhelm, and all of these other things that can lead to that. And I feel like, we talk about that fairly often here and are pretty, trying to just have empathy for the client and what their needs are, because I'm sure it can be kind of draining for you guys. I know for me of like, there's a lot of pressure. Like, you got to deliver. It feels like.
Correct. You want to turn it into a serene, clean environment, and that's not happening.
Yeah, and I think that I know we've had a couple, and even just the past weeks, where we've gone into that, and it's been the embodiment of depression, basically, or postpartum, or whatever the person is dealing with, and our cleaning techs being like, oh my God, like I can't do what I want to do, and so how do you tackle that? Like say you don't have the direction of the sister, like how do you go about being as successful as possible in a space like that where it's like a lot of shit, basically, like stuff everywhere?
I think you just walk in and you scan and you kind of like...
And walk right back up.
Make a mental note of what's doable and what's not doable.
Mm-hmm. And like just, I find compartmentalization really helps me of like, I'm just looking at this space right now. Yep. That's it. Like,
yes, you're not going to get the whole house done. Pick a room that you can make a good impact on and start bite-sized chunks and just break it down into small. Okay, I'm just going to get all of the garbage out of this room.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So it's definitely been a journey. I'm trying to think what other like giant like things have happened since, you've been here for so long, but
4 years.
Yeah. And even like, just from I feel like we really leaned into trying to be more of, like, I just hate using the word family because I think it's like something that companies use in a way to like manipulate people of like, oh, this is your family, therefore you need to sacrifice in a manner. So I try to only have it be like the positive side of family that you can actually leave,
When it is though, and I do think it's a work family. All of like the 30 employees that are here. So when I had to call in and take my parent to the emergency room, and that sucked for me, but somebody else stepped in for my day. I would absolutely 100% do that for somebody else. There's not one person out of those 30 people that if you were to say, Ashley, could you cover X, Y, or this person's shift? And I would say, nah, I don't think so. No, not one person. I would do that for anybody.
Yeah, and I think like that's the thing is like, and I've tried to highlight that just in like the team settings of like, obviously we wouldn't share anybody's personal information, but it's like every single staff member has gone through something where that has caused them to be potentially unreliable for a time period or needing a lot more flexibility or time off or just not able to do what they typically could. And just like saying like, listen, every time you call in, that's because one of the people here is stepping up and helping. And so keeping that in mind and like, it's not in a, guilt of like, you need to do anything, but just, it's like, we're trying to accomplish like hundreds of appointments a week. And every single day somebody calls in. Today it's Monday. We had 3 or 4 staff members call in. And so it's like giant schedule shifts. We had to, reschedule several appointments. We had, Hannah's training today, so you can't use her as a fill-in. And so, just like you guys don't necessarily know that. We're just like a lot of schedule changes, guys. Check your ZenMaid.
That's part of the transparency.
Yeah,
you guys know that. So if my schedule changes, I understand that what's going on. Other than if I were just open up ZenMaid and be like, what are they doing? Why do they keep changing?
Yeah, and I know that can be frustrating sometimes, especially when you're having to drive farther than you're typically going to drive. And so we try to just let you know, like, hey, this is not normal. We're doing the best we can, but sometimes, this is the perfect ideal schedule in our minds for everybody. And then the day actually comes and like just throw that out the window. And like, we just got to get these appointments done. And I think, again, like looking, and that's an interesting thing. And like looking back to like, interviewing you and things like that. And again, rolling with the punches of, your schedule changes a lot, does it not? Like, I mean, fairly often, right?
Right. Like sometimes I don't know, my Friday morning cleans, like where is it going to be? How far am I going to have to drive?
Well, because Fridays are a shit show. I wish we could just like close on Fridays because that's when stupid things happen.
And sometimes it is a little bit farther of a drive than what I can quite make. But again, the flexibility being like, oh, I'm going to be 15 minutes late because it's a little bit farther than what I'm used to driving.
Yeah. But we try to just let you guys know what's going on and why it's happening, and without throwing anybody under the bus, because at the end of the day, we're all going to call in, and so it's just like, this is what it is. You can't stop that. We just know that this is the name of the game. Like, we're going to deal with 2 kind of like emergencies in the cleaning business. It's either going to be client cancels, cleaner calls in, or complaint, I suppose. You know what I mean? So it's just like, okay, this is what we have to do, and just kind of letting you guys know on the like upfront, like, we're never going to schedule you outside of your availability. But if you say you're available, you need to be available, and I don't think because that was a problem for a while of, somebody saying they're available and then they didn't have an appointment booked maybe for the next day. So then they go out and, make plans or whatever. And so, we're definitely quite structured now, I would say, on what we expect of if you say you're available and you want off, you need to request like PTO or time off or however. We use a lot of softwares. Like we use Gusto, ZenMaid, obviously. So for you, Slack now, Zoom. So, being a little tech savvy is useful, but all of those are like super easy to do for sure. And then Trainual, that's a new one for sure. I don't know if you've gone through the online orientation yet. You did? Yeah. What did you think of that?
The annual Trainual?
Yeah.
It was, again, different. So different from, this is the first time. So 4 years of doing it. There's that little quiz at the end, right? And I was like, okay, 4 years in, I should get this right.
Right. yeah, exactly. Just making sure everybody's up to date as things have changed and things like that. But knowing that we're speaking to cleaning business owners, like, is there anything that you would say, like, they're trying to learn from the wisdom that we have at Serene Clean? Like, what would you say to an owner if they want to attract talent like you? Like, what would be your words?
Oh, I am a non-typical, you even said that I am a non-typical employee for you. So I think just having an open mind on looking at your applicants with a different perspective. Like you said, you asked me, why do you want to even work here?
Yeah, exactly.
Give them a shot, give them a chance. They might surprise you.
Well, no, so how many of our staff members are coming from the healthcare industry as professionals? Like, almost like a large majority of our staff is coming from the health, industry, and like COVID changed a lot of things, not being appreciated, being run into the ground,
very overworked and more expecting longer hours and taking away from your family time. And it was tough.
Yeah. So just having an open mind, it sounds like, For sure. That would be a big one. Anything else? Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Ashley, for your time today. This has been lovely, and everybody give her props for being on a podcast. I mean, for me to ask her to do this and her willing to do this, this is not part of the job description. You will be paid for this time, though. So everybody hit that like, hit that subscribe, leave some comments of appreciation for Ashley. She is a true gem, and I'm so grateful for you. I'm so happy that you came along and really have helped shape the culture here and the company as a whole, because you are a beacon of excellence. Look at you.
Thank you.
And guys, we'll see you in the next episode of Filthy Rich Cleaners. Bye-bye.
So this is post-podcast recording, but Ashley just did her spin the wheel that we have as a little perk, and she just got $100 cash, and the other one was what? What else did you get?
$75 Walmart gift card.
Yeah. So best place to work ever, right, Ashley?
Yes.
I'm not paying her to say that, but it was kind of like that.